の正しい戦い方監修 BR 法推進委員会
Battle Royale is a term generally used to describe a fight in which opponents all fight one another with a last man standing goal. The term was often used in boxing and wrestling matches as far back as the 18th century. In movies, this style of fighting would be portrayed in movies like Jackie Chan's The Big Brawl. In 2000, this definition changed with the release of Battle Royale in Japan, a movie in which 42 children are forced to fight to the death as punishment for being badly behaved in school. There was immediate controversy over the gratuitous violence towards minors. Government officials spoke out against the movie and claimed it was harmful to children. In Japan, the film was rated an R-15, a label rarely used, and the director, Shinji Fukasaku, disagreed with the choice. He cited the fact that actors in the movie were 15 years old and openly encouraged those under the age of 15 to sneak in. Outside of Japan, bans on Battle Royale existed in South Korea and Germany. Distribution was delayed in America due to worries about potential lawsuits. A single theater in California showed the movie in 2002, but otherwise the movie was not officially released in the US until 2011. All the publicity and the debate guaranteed the movie would become a cult classic. The Battle Royale movie genre became not just a group of people fighting, but specifically a group of people brought together against their will and forced to kill one another in a fight to the death. The threat of death hangs over the participants, portrayed as necklaces, bomb vests, exploding implants, vials of acid that melt your face off, or magical curses that kill you if you don't play. In the years following Battle Royale, there have been numerous attempts to copy the success of the original. Many have been low-budget horror films, but some have spent surprising amounts and cast well-known actors. Interestingly, the budgets of these movies have little to do with how well they were received. Some are quite good, despite poor funding, while others are just unwatchable. Many of the second category seem to have a heavier slant towards Saw-style movies rather than Battle Royale. This video will not include these types of movies, where the participants are mainly tortured or killed by traps, and the goal of the movie is primarily gore. I will also not include movies in which the protagonists are being hunted, like in a slasher movie or the Most Dangerous Game type movie. For purposes of this video, Battle Royale movies will be defined as a group of people brought to a closed location against their will and forced to fight to the death. While there may be one or two victims who show sociopathic tendencies and enjoy the killing, usually most of the group is initially resistant. The antagonist or antagonists are not participating in the bulk of the killing. Any murder by the villain is usually at the very beginning of the movie, and usually to make the point that the victims are completely under their control. Despite Battle Royale generally being considered the first of this genre, Mean Guns was the first movie I was able to find that meets our definition of a Battle Royale film. The plot is a basic kill or be killed movie, while our villain, Vincent Moon, is out to clean house for his employers and get rid of a whole lot of loose ends. It is not a good movie, but with a couple of drinks it's entertaining enough for a watch through. Tracy Marrow, Ice-T for those of us old enough to remember him, plays Vincent Moon and is delightfully terrible in the role. Moon is middle management for a crime syndicate whose bosses are never seen and barely mentioned. He is ordered to kill 99 people in their employee that are now seen as a liability, and his plan is to invite everyone to a game that will take place in a prison built by these mysterious criminal overlords. How exactly they got that contract is never quite explained. Also not explained is why every one of these people, freelancers and steady employees alike, all just drop what they're doing on short notice to answer Moon's call, or why the accountant that they want dead isn't just killed, rather than being dragged into this gunfight. It might be hard to kill 98 professionals, but one woman that you have right there's no way around it. A lot of forced plot points are needed to make this movie happen. In most Battle Royale movies, the victims are tricked or kidnapped to the area that the fight will take place. Here, they're just invited. Christopher Lambert's character, Lou, hears rumors about it and tags along, conveniently making an even 100 for the fight. This also makes no sense. We find out Lou has worked for the organization before. He is the most blatantly crazy of the bunch, and on a huge number of medications that don't seem to keep him in check at all. No one he interacts with considers him anything but an untrustworthy wild card, and Moon eventually decides he's too dangerous to be allowed to live no matter what the outcome of his game. So, how was he not invited in the first place? Oh well, details. Why would we expect a $2 million movie to actually be well written? That's just over $4 million in today's money for anyone interested. Once they are all disarmed and trapped inside the prison walls, seriously, what professional killer walks willingly into a prison? Moon announces they're in competition for a $10 million prize. All they have to do is be one of the last 3 standing. Of course, if less than 3 survive, that's a bigger cut for the survivors. Moon makes it clear this is not a voluntary competition by shooting the few who complain, and then raining guns and melee weapons down on the rest. He shoots a few more for fun, then lets the rest go on with slaughtering one another while he watches from the control room. Considering the massacre that makes up the rest of the movie, there is surprisingly little blood. This is one of those movies where people fly backwards when shot, no matter what the caliber of the gun, and no one ever runs out of bullets unless the plot demands it. It was rated R, apparently based on the language as much as the violence, and the entire thing is mainly violence, but if you put an animation filter over it, the whole thing just becomes a Warner Brothers cartoon. Christopher Lambert's role in this never stops feeling out of place. To start with, he's brought a little girl with him on the murder jaunt. He initially claims she's some girl he picked up somewhere, and he decided he was going to play daddy. For the record, Daddy isn't done in a creepy way, but it's the only thing about him that isn't creepy. He claims he's after the $10 million to make sure she has a good future. One might generously headcanon that he's trying to make enough money to retire and spend his time being a proper father, if he didn't spend so much time talking about how much he loves killing people. At the end of the movie, as he's about to die, he claims she is his biological daughter, which does explain why they felt the need to dye his hair that ridiculous shade of white blonde. It doesn't explain how she ended up with him, why she hates him so much, or how she becomes a 10-year-old psychopathic bitch. It is one of Christopher Lambert's weirder roles, and honestly, if you'd cut his entire plotline out of the movie, it wouldn't have cost much but time. Well, and some weird creepy shots of this little girl. Mean Guns began many of the tropes that would later become so annoying in these types of movies. Especially the "just kidding, you're all gonna die" ending. Perhaps in 1997, that actually came as a surprise to people, but nowadays, if you've ever seen a movie, it's pretty obvious. The last person ends up being the one who has no right to have survived at all, the quote-unquote innocent woman, and the future serial killer ride off together into the sunset. Mean Guns was released in 1997, but looks and feels like it belongs a few years earlier, and it has the most unexpected soundtrack I've ever seen in a movie. After all, what do you expect in a movie that is 90% people you don't care about murdering each other? Heavy electronic sounds, dynamic, cinematic, tense music? Nope. The entire soundtrack is cheerful, upbeat mambo. It is so out of left field that it actually made me double take. It's so ridiculous, it kind of saves the whole watching experience. I even listened to the soundtrack while writing this part of the script, just for the fun of it. All in all, of all the movies on this list, Mean Guns is one of those that feels least like a Battle Royale style movie. But it's also the one that didn't have the masterpiece to draw from, so, you know. Again, the soundtrack and some of the laughs, I mean, not intentional laughs, but laughs, they will make it worth a watch, but only if you have absolutely nothing better to do with your time. Or if you have a YouTube video to make. I'm going to cover this one quickly because I've already done it at length in my #TheBookIsBetter video on this channel. Link in the description. When the movie originally came out in 2012, it was overwhelmingly compared to Battle Royale. It's probably because it's the only one on this list that also has children fighting to the death, though it's hard to keep that in mind when most of the main casts are in their mid-20s. Suzanne Collins claims she never read Battle Royale when she wrote the series, that she was instead inspired by channel flipping between a reality TV show and war coverage. When the movie was made, it also had a striking resemblance to the movie version of Battle Royale. Creators defended it by saying both movies came from similar roots: reality television, political upheaval, and dystopian movies that had come before, and specifically, both authors cited Stephen King's The Long Walk. Still, the structure of both movies is strikingly similar. Both start with a written prelude about troubled times and a law passed out of fear to keep the populace under control. Both have the children who will die randomly chosen. Both provide them with a variety of weapons to kill each other, and the participants are intended to fight over them. While Battle Royale has significantly more students, the makeup of named characters is about the same. Both have timid participants who die quickly, they have a male and female protagonist, there's another male who is absent but thought of frequently, who is in love with the female. Both have a loner character that saves the main protagonist. The antagonist is the driving force of the plot in both movies. Kato from Hunger Games and Katsuo from Battle Royale both join the games voluntarily and enjoy killing. Both have the highest body count in their respective movies, and both kill just shy of 30% of the other participants. With this level of similar detail in both movies, it's understandable why comparisons have been made. This was one of several movies I had never even heard of until this project. It was also the weirdest. I considered not including it because it's a bit of an outlier to our stated rules for a Battle Royale movie. The main cast includes 7 characters, but they have the choice between killing each other or killing innocents who aren't part of the game. In fact, there really isn't any way to not kill innocents except to kill themselves. Killing each other is a major part of the plot, and their actions are done under pain of death. Like the other movies here, you have the one who is willing to begin killing immediately, those who don't want to kill, and the majority that work themselves up to it. Game of Death falls under a category I often talk about. Not really good, exactly, but enjoyable enough to be a guilty pleasure. It's not so bad it's good, but it's so bizarre you find yourself sucked in the same way you might find yourself slowing down for a traffic accident. It's a strange mashup of Battle Royale and Jumanji with the special effects of Kill Bill and, I don't know, maybe a little Mars Attacks involved? The Game of Death involves 7 teenagers who start playing a board game during a party thrown by their friend Matt. The game draws their blood, cursing them and forcing participation. The game assigns them to kill 24 people in a certain amount of time, though the timeline on this is never exactly given. They can't figure out how the game works, no one knows how to take a turn, so they move on to other games. And then Matthew's head explodes. Weirdly, for a horror movie, it's almost 20 minutes before the action really starts. That opening 15 minutes to the movie are an odd choice. True, horror movies always have the couple having sex trope. Matt and his girlfriend Ashley fulfill that nicely by having sex almost immediately, so that Matt can die equally quickly. You might say he's only in the movie long enough to come and go. It's not the norm of a horror movie to focus entirely on the characters and sex, with the complete exclusion of horror for so long though, or so graphically. But it does set the tone for the rest of the movie, tells you a lot about the characters, and it kind of manages to creep you out before the killing even starts. It's a little uncomfortable from the very start, watching teenagers have a wank, graphic jokes about Beth wanting her brother Tom to bang Ashley, and we'll hold off on the weirdest one for a few minutes. The point is, most of this could have been cut without losing anything, but it does set a certain tone. I did like that when Matthew's head blows off, the rest of the group don't immediately jump to "the board game is killing us." Instead, they think they're being shot at, and they call the police and they hide in the house. When the creepy old guy who's been staring at the girls shows up, they assume he killed their friend, and they hold him at gunpoint for the police. All normal behaviors for the situation. Then Kenny's head blows up. Tom is the one who makes the connection between the weird cartoon balloon head swelling and the game they played. He turns out to be our kill-happy character, though this isn't really a surprise, and he pops the old guy with very little discussion on the subject. Interestingly, while most killer types in these movies justify their willingness to take lives through a desire for survival, a need to get back to family,
they have your husband,
or simply because they like to kill people, Tom's justification is to save his sister. Possibly understandable on the surface, but it turns out that Tom doesn't just love his sister, Tom loves his sister. Yeah, the romantic couple in this movie are siblings. Tom and Beth go on a killing spree at a hospital to help the residents while saving themselves. The killings rapidly deteriorate into a weird retro video game-esque nightmare animation that is very effective at setting tone and moving us rapidly to the end of the movie without it becoming boring. It's also effective at being really weird. Meanwhile, Ashley beats a cop to death to save Tyler from being exploded by the game. She regrets her actions and states they need to stop this. They head off to stop their friends-turned-incestuous psychos from killing anyone else. Unfortunately, it apparently takes the same amount of time for Ashley to pulverize a lonely doggy mama as it takes Tom and Beth to murder their way through most of the hospice section of a hospital. By the time they arrive, only 3 deaths are needed to stop the game's countdown. Ashley shoots Beth, Kyle kills a grieving Tom by basically tearing his throat out barehanded. This is his only kill of the movie, by the way. Then, with only 1 death left and a 50-50 shot as to who gets head exploded, Ashley gives a long speech about the meaning of life and death before saying, "But fuck it, what's one more?" and blowing Kyle away to save herself.
Bitch.
There are a few major weaknesses in the movie. The time between each head explosion varies according to the need of the plot. While they add to the story and are sometimes pretty amusing, it does make the game look consciously sadistic. The game requires 24 kills to end. Ashley shooting Kyle, however, appears to be the 28th death, plus 1 dead deer. However, the montage and the animation scene do make it hard to know this for certain. And then there's the final scene of the movie. Look, I get that horror movies seem to feel the need for an epilogue scene, whether it makes sense or not. Gotta leave it open for those sequels, I guess. This scene, though, is weak. Really weak. For the entire runtime, the movie has walked a fine line between taking itself too seriously and not. The final scene involving the teenagers is a dramatic, tense end. It retains some of the ridiculousness with the entrance of a state police force that is entirely made up of overweight women, but it doesn't really break the mood or that tentative balance. The final scene completely smashes that balance, though, ending the movie on a note that is so campy it utterly ruins the tone of the much better scene before it. Still, despite these issues, the movie is pretty fun if you don't expect much. It runs just over an hour, so if you like comedic horror movies, it is worth a watch. Just skip the final scene. Remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin tried to be an actor? I say tried, but he actually was in 16 movies. Don't let that fool you into thinking he might be good at this. 9 of those movies were direct-to-DVD, 1 was a documentary on his own life, and Whoop-Ass was a short film. Only 5 got a theatrical release, and 2007's The Condemned was the only one Austin had a starring role in. It was, not well received. With a budget of $20 million, it made back less than $8 million in theaters. Eventual DVD sales reached about $22 million, meaning the movie might have eventually made its money back when you figure in advertising.
Hey, I doubt it!
Eventually. There isn't a lot to say about this movie. The description on IMDb is, quote, Jack Conrad is awaiting the death penalty in a corrupt Central American prison. He is purchased by a wealthy television producer and taken to a desolate island where he must fight to the death against 9 other condemned killers from all corners of the world, with freedom going to the sole survivor. End quote. And yeah, that's the whole movie. A bunch of people fight. Most of them are bad people. 2 of them are a couple. One's in Australian Special Forces. Steve Austin is obviously going to win and never in much danger. Personally, if I was going to watch a bald guy act overconfident and easily beat every opponent he comes across, I'd watch Riddick. Alas, The Condemned exists, it fits the category, and it must be mentioned. So there it is. Consider it mentioned. Moving on. Moving from the most tropey, cliched movie in this video to the least, Circle is a movie about 50 people who awaken to find themselves in a circle, standing 3 people deep, but with irregular placement around a strange black globe. They learn quickly that moving from the spots they've been placed on results in a pink bolt of lightning coming out of the globe and killing the offender. Once everyone is awake, sporadic machinery sounds can be heard. At the end of the sound cycle, about every 2 minutes, the pink lightning strikes again. After several deaths, the trapped people are horrified to realize they are choosing who dies. Each can see a light on the floor that revolves around the room as they move their arms. Where the light ends up at the end of each turn determines the individual's vote, and the person with the most votes is killed. If they refuse to vote, someone is chosen apparently at random. If there is a tie, both people are killed. The debates about how to choose begin immediately. Within only 2 minutes between each death, the group initially agrees to vote out anyone over 70. But when the young man who made that suggestion insists a 52-year-old woman falls into this category as well, a large chunk of the group vote for him instead. From there, debates begin to wage about politics, religion, race, and socioeconomic status. With only 2 minutes between each death, choices are made based on whether or not those with children matter more, if the unemployed should be sacrificed, and whether non-English speakers should be voted out because their need for a translator slows the decision-making process and endangers others. There is a desperate need to discover what those who hold them want and how to make it stop. Finally, one young man suggests they will have to keep choosing until only one is left. Included in the group are a heavily pregnant woman and a little girl. The group immediately recognizes it is likely the choice will come down to these two, leaving them forced to choose or both will die. The group split immediately becomes centered around these two, those who want to protect them until forced to make that choice, and those who want them killed immediately to give everyone else a greater chance at life. They also argue it will be unkind to make the child choose, and it's better off to simply put them out of their misery. The runtime is 127 minutes, with the first scene opening at the 2-minute mark. The death timer begins with the rise of the black globe at 2 minutes and 59 seconds. The final death takes place at 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 9 seconds, meaning all the deaths take place about an hour and 17 minutes. While a perfect 2 minutes each would make for an hour and 40-minute runtime, several people step off their spots, choose to die together, or sacrifice themselves before the timer is up. This means the creators of the movie set the 2-minute rule, and for the most part actually stuck with it. Even the first death on the timer, before we know the rule, happens at 4 minutes and 47 seconds. So not perfectly 2 minutes from the opening, but very close. Whether this quiet tension is your type of movie or not, these were apparently writers and directors who cared about this being done well, and this should be commended. The discussions between members of the group, the tension in the room, the inability to leave, and the fact that we learn very few of their names gave Circle a very 12 Angry Men feel. Indeed, when I researched the background of the movie, 12 Angry Men was listed as a major inspiration. The movie was made with care. Even the smallest bit part character gives it all they have, including one older man who never has a single line and doesn't move throughout the whole movie. I won't tell you the ending. Out of all the movies on this list, this may not be the most fun, but I think it is the movie most worth a watch, and most likely to be overlooked. I will just say I found the ending and the answers to be worth the build-up, and that it paid off the tension in the end. And now we move from the least violent of the movies to one of the most. Raze is a 2013 movie that is, surprise, surprise, about a bunch of people kidnapped and forced to fight to the death. The difference is, in this case, they are all women. They have been trained in some kind of self-defense style, although this doesn't necessarily give them the personality needed to kill. To up the stakes and convince those who need it, if they refuse to fight, their families are killed. If they lose a fight, not only do they die, but their loved ones meet a grisly end. The murders are broadcast for the rest of the women to see, so that they will take the threat seriously. The mysterious hosts of this event make sure no one will ever throw a fight. This is another movie that is a slight outlier to the rest. While all the women have to fight, it isn't a single-pitched battle like the rest of this list. The women are paired up, fight to the death, and the survivor is given time to heal while others fight. They are pitted against each other in more of a tournament style or gladiatorial style rather than a true battle royale. This is actually worse for them in some ways, because with 50 women in a fight a day, many of these women get to know each other. Friendships are formed reluctantly over time, but they are formed, never knowing if your next fight will be against someone you care for. Behind it all is a cabal of rich sadists with apparently unlimited time and money on their hands. They are headed by a husband and wife team, Elizabeth and Joseph. Joseph seems to hold a cult leader-like power over the others, and Elizabeth seems to believe she's actually doing the women some good. She talks at one point about the Mayanids, referring to them as the first feminists, throwing off the shackles of society as they revel in strange rites, madness, and murder. She encourages the women she kidnapped to be more like them, and believes this will make them more empowered. Of course, she does all this while living off her wealthy husband, sipping wine, dressing in expensive clothing, and holding the literal power of life and death over the women that she watches die on a daily basis. None of the group, despite their sadism, seem to look at the fights as anything sexual. The women are all dressed in the same comfortable clothing one might go to the gym in. The tank tops don't allow for their opponents to get a grip, but nor are they terribly revealing or prone to wardrobe malfunctions. Gray sweatpants are likewise functional without being revealing. The movie got mixed reviews, with most of the low-review male scores coming from men who complained the women weren't more scantily clad, and low-review female scores screaming about patriarchy, violence against women, and accusing the creators of misogyny. In both cases, many of the reviews I read stated they didn't actually finish the movie. I feel like both groups probably wouldn't have an issue with the deaths in The Condemned, or complained about Steve Austin wearing too many clothes. Just goes to show that double standards work both ways for certain types of people. Those outside that group of special people, mostly those who finished the movie, stated they had expected a different movie. They expected to see either scantily clad women or a female empowerment story, but these are the people who stuck it out. They were either familiar with one of the actresses, impressed that the movie had caught them off guard, or they were part of a nebulous other category. Whatever their reasoning, they all stated they were impressed with the twists in the plot, getting to know the characters, the subtle discussions about what is female empowerment, and the unexpected ending. No, I'm not going to tell you the ending of this one either. It's a little predictable, only not in the way you think it's going to be, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And this movie is basic. Entertaining, but basic. Made in 2020, it has nothing at all unexpected, no surprises, no cool little twists. Nothing happens in this movie that I feel bad about spoiling, because if you don't see it coming a mile away, you've never seen a movie before. You have all the standard character tropes with Trigger: the sociopathic couple, the quiet girl who doesn't want to kill anyone, the playboy, the stoner, the insider. You have the last girl trope, the I know what you did last summer trope. Yeah, I feel like that's officially a thing now. You have the enabling parent trope. You name it, this movie has it. And yet, it still tries to take itself seriously. You should not. The only thing that makes this stand out a little bit is that the setting feels like a slasher flick, not a battle royale. 9 friends get together for the first time since high school to camp in the middle of the woods. This has been arranged by Bobby because he says the local hotels are all booked. The other invitees to this little party are Ryan, the smart one, with the overprotective dad, PJ, the stoner one, boyfriend to Ryan, Aaron, the quiet one, with drama, Ezra, the playboy, boyfriend to Cece, Cece, the girlfriend. Seriously, she has no other purpose in this movie. Amber, Cece's best friend, and Ezra's side piece. Shay, Bobby's girlfriend. She exists for a few minutes. And Kato, the ex-drug dealer. And look, he has a K name. You know what his role is in this movie. They talk, they drink, they have sex. Cece worries about Ezra cheating on her. Basic teen slasher stuff. Only these people are well after high school. There are occasional references to a Caleb, to whom something bad happened, and no one really wants to talk about it. In the meantime, we've had a quick snippet of a middle-aged man being tied up in the woods, stabbed in the guts, and left to bleed out. The immature 20s group is knocked out by gas, they wake up to find bombs strapped to them with timers, and Bobby is missing. The mastermind behind this is a former science teacher and father to the mysterious Caleb Peterson. We find out Caleb died of a drug overdose, but Mr. Peterson believes this was not an accidental overdose, that someone in the group, if not the whole group, had a hand in murdering his son. He apologizes to Erin for getting her caught up in this, despite having a vest already built for her and the fact that he could have just had Bobby not invite her. He blows his brains out in front of the group. They find Bobby severely beaten and also wearing a vest with very little time on the timer. He apologized to the group, saying he was blackmailed by Mr. Peterson, who knew he was gay. We never find out what his job was, but apparently it would have been in danger if the news had gotten out. He claims he had no idea the plan was to make them kill each other until his own vest was strapped on him. Peterson also gave him a knife to make his lack of time fair, but he's as terrible a killer as he is a friend. The time runs out, and he explodes. The group scatters into the woods in different directions. PJ has the next lowest time, and as he and Ryan try and find a solution, he gets more and more frightened. When Shay runs up on him in the dark, he brains her with a flashlight, killing her instantly. And suddenly, he has more time. This is how the group discovers that killing each other is how they stay alive, and several of them are remarkably calm about this. Cece now has the lowest time, and she attempts to kill Kato, injuring his leg with one of those wounds that will only bother him when the plot needs it. Kato then informs Cece that Ezra has been cheating on her, and it's with Amber, and he makes his escape while she stabs Amber in the stomach. This has also remarkably little impact, as Amber cuts Cece's throat, takes her time, and joins back up with the guy who just tried to get her killed to save his own ass. Apparently, she thinks in a game of kill or be killed, Kato will just overlook the fact that she's been cheating on him with her best friend's guy for months. Meanwhile, Ezra and Aaron have found each other stumbling around in the woods. Aaron doesn't trust him, but with everyone else partnering off, they reluctantly pair up. They find the bloodied man in the woods. Remember that guy? Turns out he's Ryan's dad. Not only is he the overprotective father, he is apparently also the lead investigator on Caleb's death and partially responsible for Caleb's death being ruled an overdose. He tells them there's a second key fob on Peterson that will turn the vests off, that Caleb's death may actually have been a murder, and then he passes out. He's basically quest giver man. He's also wearing a bomb vest, but he's almost dead due to blood loss anyway. As Aaron tries to stop the bleeding, Ezra backs away from the two of them and kills quest giver. This is the first and only selfless thing Ezra does before dying horribly. Because Aaron is closer, she is the one who receives quest giver's time. Aaron tries to find Ryan to tell her about her dad. Kato shows up and kills Ezra with some of that pent-up rage he's got going on. Then he uses Ezra's gun to kill PJ. PJ is far dumber than just being a stoner should allow for, by the way. He has like 3 chances to get away from or kill Kato, and he keeps letting him go. Anyway, back to Kato's killing spree. After killing PJ, he decides to have a talk with Amber about her cheating. That talk mainly involves an axe. Ryan, Kato, and Aaron remain when Ryan finds the second fob. She pushes the button, but what do you know? The psychopath who wants everyone dead apparently lied. Instead of turning off, the vests all drop to a sudden death mode. Ryan has a clean shot at Aaron, but instead monologues that she was the one who killed Caleb. She drugged him to stop him from being valedictorian, but gave him too much and triggered an unknown heart problem. While she's crying, Kato gets the jump on her and kills her. She dies in Aaron's arms, though, giving Aaron more time, and it also gives Aaron the gun. Kato taunts her, knowing Aaron can't kill him even to save her own life. Aaron has a Batman moment.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
And with surprisingly good aim for someone who's supposed to hate violence, she kneecaps him. Then she just walks away and waits for the explosion. Game over. She walks to a road and flags down the only smart driver to ever exist in a horror movie. He takes one look at her bloody self and the gun.
Oh, hell no!
We are then given the impression that this magically breaks Erin from her wallflower shell and she lives happily ever after, in the dark, on a mostly deserted road, covered in her friend's blood and holding the gun that killed several of them.
It'll be fine. It'll be good.
For our 9th movie, let's talk about The House of Nine. This is a terrible movie, and everyone should watch it just for the sheer enjoyment of Dennis Hopper trying to do an Irish accent.
There you go.
For a movie with a relatively low budget of $6 million, the cast in this is surprisingly good. Yes, there are a number of no-name actors there to fill out the cast, provoke arguments about race, and not only is Dennis Hopper in this, but Peter Capaldi, who would go on to play the Doctor, and Hippolyte... Yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce this guy's name. The second one probably isn't familiar to any of you unless the uninspired reviewer happens to watch this, but Guiraudot was an extremely prolific director of French films from 1973 to... Oh, his last film came out in 2023. The man is still working. This dude is 69 and has been making movies longer than I have been alive. As one might guess, this movie involves 9 people trapped in a house. We have Leah, our main character, and honestly, the most boring person in the movie. Father Duffy, the terrible Irish priest stereotype. Jay, the gun-toting cop stereotype. Al B, the violent criminal rapper black stereotype. Shona, apparently written by the only person in Hollywood who's never met a drug addict. Max is a fashion designer who is... there. Claire is a tennis player. Cynthia comes from old money, and her husband Francis is, an artiste. Read that as deadbeat. As per usual for these movies, the 9 need to kill each other to get out. The surviving person wins $5 million, as well as getting to not die. What sets House of 9 apart from many of these movies is that there is no threat of death if they don't cooperate, nor is there a time limit for the group. The only thing that happens is they are slightly uncomfortable. The only food they get is cold potatoes and cold chicken until they do as they are told. There's a reason there are no poor people in this house. The right poor people might have killed each other for the money, but no one who's ever been hungry is going to get pissy about chicken and potatoes for a couple of days. Because a couple of days is all this group lasts. They make 2 half-hearted attempts to get out on day 1, and then we're pretty well right down to the violence. To be fair, the first person who dies is an accident. Sort of. Al pushes her, she falls because she's drunk, and she splits her head open. Bloodlessly. Except, then Al also kills victim number 2, Jay, because the police officer thought he should be punished for, killing someone. On day 3, they killed 2 people in 2 days over the stress of cold food. Al supposedly kills himself in remorse. No one, cast or audience, believes this. Shona and Claire fight over an invasion of privacy, and Claire stabs Shona with a corkscrew. Frances throws an electrical light into Leah's sink while she's washing. Claire tries to form an alliance with Max, but he strangles her. It's really the only thing he does in the movie, so, at least he was useful. Father Duffy accuses Frances of killing Leah, and Frances becomes so deranged that Duffy is forced to shoot him, but he shoots to injure, not to kill.
Big mistake.
His no-kill code lasts 10 seconds until he finds Max strangling Claire and shoots him in the head. Frances stabs the father in the back. Literally. It turns out Max wasn't useful after all, and Claire is still alive. Frances takes the gun and fixes that. Then he kills Father Duffy, who isn't quite dead yet either.
I'm not dead!
He's pissed when money doesn't immediately rain from the heavens, and then he realizes Leah is still alive. They struggle, they both fall, she lands on top of him, and a small piece of glass miraculously pierces through his ribcage into his heart and kills him.
I don't think it works that way.
And here, we have a fork in the road. The DVD contains an alternate ending in which Leah awakens in her apartment, gets the $5 million, and an Attagirl from her unknown kidnapper. She is invited to watch the next death match. The original release had a different, and in my opinion, better ending. She finds the money, the door opens, she walks through in a white light. Only, she finds herself in another house, with another 8 people, all holding bags of money and looking mad as shithouse rats. And yeah, that's it. An interesting ending to a completely uninteresting movie. Moving on. Series 7, The Contenders? The Contenders Series 7? What the hell is even the title of this movie? It's incredibly hard to tell from the title card. The Contenders Series 7 seems to be the natural choice, but most listings seem to have it the other way around. It's not the only thing you'll find about this movie that doesn't go the way you think it should, though. This was another movie I'd never heard of until this project, and I'll admit, when I first began watching it, my heart sank. It started out looking like a high school film project with unbelievably bad quality and cheap camera work. However, you get only a few minutes in when it becomes apparent that this is actually a reasonably well-made satire poking fun at reality television. It gets much better after that. The Contenders is a reality show/competition in which 5 contestants are chosen at random to participate in the show by the drawing of social security numbers. They, and the previous season's winner, are each given a gun, and within set city limits, must hunt each other down until only one remains. The winner has to win 3 seasons in order to be allowed to stop competing. The winner of Series 5 and 6 is Dawn, 8 months pregnant, and desperate to live long enough to have her baby. Because no one has ever made it 2 seasons before, Series 7 takes place in her hometown, and one of the other contestants is her high school sweetheart. Did I mention these choices are supposed to be random? I guess random actually means random in this city we chose to host the show, and maybe one person specifically chosen for drama. The high school sweetheart is Jeffrey, an artist, married to Doria, suicidal, and dying of testicular cancer. He and Dawn were both the weirdos and troublemakers in high school. They split up because she had an abortion, and he began to think he was gay. They both still have strong feelings for each other, and it's all very emotional and dramatic in a let's make fun of the Hunger Games kind of way. The other 4 contestants are Lindsay, a teenager whose parents are big fans of the show, Franklin, a 72-year-old retired loner and conspiracy nut, Anthony, married with children, unemployed, and a pretty stereotypical loser, and Connie, a middle-aged ER nurse who is probably a serial angel of mercy killer. Maybe the random decisions are actually a way to clean deviants out of the society. Like most of reality television, there are clips and interviews done with each contestant, but Dawn's perspective takes up a large majority of the time. Connie, however, despite her protests about not being able to kill anyone, takes the lead pretty quickly by killing Anthony and Franklin. Before dying, though, Franklin beats Lindsay to death in front of her parents. I wonder if they're still fans of the show. Dawn and Jeffrey spend most of their time dithering around until Jeffrey decides he's going to let Dawn kill him. He's dying anyway, and he still loves her. She plans to get medication that will allow him to die painlessly, and agrees to come back that night. Doria isn't really happy with any pieces of that puzzle, but accepts it reluctantly. Unfortunately, Dawn's plans to return are interrupted. She plans to kill Connie before going back to help Jeffrey die, but goes into labor during her attack. Connie reluctantly delivers the baby and then follows Dawn to the hospital, planning to dispatch her. In the meantime, Jeffrey believes Dawn has abandoned him and tries to kill himself. However, Doria calls an ambulance. This means that Jeffrey is also in the hospital, giving Connie a twofer. She decides to begin with Jeffrey, logically assuming he wants to die anyway. Jeffrey, however, has a change of heart. Apparently, being killed by a middle-aged nurse is much less romantic than being killed by his lost love. He acts instinctively when Connie comes in with her euthanasia needles, and since she doesn't expect him to resist, he easily gets the drop on her. And now there are only two. Dawn and Jeffrey agree to meet to finish the competition. Upon meeting, though, neither can kill the other, and instead they attack the cameraman and make an escape. They are tracked by the production company, but make a stand and demand the return of Dawn's baby. Once it becomes clear to them there is no out, Jeffrey again offers to let Dawn kill him, and she agrees so she can see her child again. However, just before she's able to do this, Doria, who I honestly had forgotten existed, shows up and kills her, screaming she still loves Jeffrey. Jeffrey, overwhelmed with grief, shoots himself, and the program goes to commercial. A Next Time On tells us that Doria is in jail, and that the winning contestant to take place in the next season will be Jeffrey, who has managed to mess up yet another life-ending attempt.
Shit.
There is another far less light-hearted ending. In the alternate ending, Jeffrey and Dawn make their escape. They burst through the door to freedom and are torn to pieces by angry fans for not giving them a more exciting ending. While I understand why the movie probably went with the funnier ending, I consider it a cop-out. Not only does it end a pretty dark movie on a weirdly light note, if you're gonna do a dark satire, go all the way. It's not just a matter of making fun of reality TV, you also need to make fun of why reality television is so popular, and that's the fans. The Belko experiment is often described as Battle Royale meets Office Space. This implies to many people, apparently, that this movie is funny. It is not. It just happens to revolve around 80 people alone in an office building. This is apparently enough to make it like Office Space to let some idiot completely mess up their marketing. The employees of Belko have moved to Colombia for a temporary stint of working for a non-profit organization that facilitates American companies in South America in the hiring of American workers. Each are implanted with a chip when they move to Colombia, supposedly to track them in case of kidnappings. This is a horror movie, so we all know that's duck bollocks. The employees begin another workday in a mostly empty building. All the local people have been sent home for unknown reasons. Halfway through the day, an unknown voice comes over the loudspeaker, informing them that most of them will be dead in 8 hours. They are then ordered to kill 2 people within 30 minutes. The building develops a set of magical bomb-proof shutters over the windows and doors, and the phone lines are all cut. Everyone assumes this is a joke, although a few are concerned it's a weird bomb threat type event in action. Then, 4 people's heads blow up because the group didn't follow orders. See what I mean about implants and duck bollocks? Throughout the next 8 hours, the voice continues to ramp up the requirements to stay alive. If the directions aren't followed, twice as many people are killed when the implants explode. I'm not gonna lie, I love this movie. It has John C. McGinley in it, who absolutely rocks everything he's in. The cast in general just shines. It is dark, In some ways, it is even darker than Battle Royale itself. It takes all the right lessons from its predecessor, throws in some tiny black humor at just the right moments, and it does it on an even smaller budget, when you figure inflation, than Battle Royale did. It's not a great act of cinema, but as far as psychological horror goes, it's very good, and it's enjoyable if you have as dark a soul as I do. Reviews for this movie are pretty mid though. Overwhelmingly, the complaints are that it isn't over the top or funny enough. People wanted a movie where people killed each other in a humorous way, not an uncomfortable way. Again, I have to assume it's because of the Office Space line, but a lot of people seem to go in thinking this was a comedy. As an example, Jeremy Jahns' review video of it at the time referred to it as a comedic horror. It's not. I cannot emphasize this enough. Why people went into a psychological thriller expecting laughs, I don't know. But check out the end of my Zombies video if you want my take on the overuse of comedy in horror movies. Another popular complaint swings in the exact opposite direction. There isn't enough character development. Jeremy Jahns had this complaint as well, but this movie takes place over a few hours. I'm not sure how much character development people thought would happen in that period of time. Did they think there would be sudden bursts of heroism and self-sacrifice from people? That isn't going to happen. At the end of the day, the people who are okay with killing, kill people. The people who aren't okay with killing, die. Or occasionally, they find out maybe they aren't so opposed to it after all. The CEO, also an ex-military guy, is absolutely fine with killing. He says he needs to get home to his wife and kids, though it's interesting that both his career moves have involved him being away from them for very long periods of time. He doesn't seem to ever enjoy the violence, but he also seems not bothered by it. When it becomes apparent that the danger is real, everything becomes a matter of numbers for him. And what makes this movie so different is most people seem fine with that. This is the Milgram experiment in all its glory. An authority figure tells you to shoot someone, you do it. Even more terrifying, the same authority figure tells you to line up in a wall in a firing line, and almost everyone does so with hardly a complaint or struggle. Their coworkers allow them to be dragged off without a whisper, just happy it isn't them. Let me say again, these are 70 people together in a room with 4 men that have guns. They know those men don't have their interests at heart, not even the group's interest. Not one person resists. Had the whole group rushed them, 10 or 20 might have been injured or killed. Instead, 30 people just line up to have their brains blown out. They only resist when the lights go out, the scene becomes chaotic, and people stop giving orders. This pattern continues over more than just this scene. As the numbers dwindle, few fight back against the authority figures. The protagonist is given multiple attempts to kill or contain these obviously dangerous people, but just doesn't, because Mr. Norris is the boss. Norris's secretary even appeals to his authority for protection. She will trade him sex in return for safety.
Give Mr. Bullet.
That worked well. Does my love for this movie make me biased? Maybe. Does my history in mental health and sociology probably let me see a lot of things others missed? Absolutely. Most importantly, though, I watched the movie understanding it wasn't a fucking comedy. So, you know, different context, different expectations. This is a bloody, intense gore fest that pulls absolutely no punches. It never cuts scenes away because this might be a little too far. This is a middle-class suburban office civilization at its most primitive, and I am here for it every time. So there it is, 10 movies of the Battle Royale genre. Which one of these is your favorite? Do you have a guilty pleasure in the lot? What did I miss? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will consider joining the herd and hit all the things. And until next time, happy headbutting.
Come join the herd.